study finds reducing children's screen time to just 3 hours per week improves mental health. Would you believe that? This is, I swear, I mean, sometimes some of the stuff that these scientists come up with, it's like they might be the smartest people on the planet. And I know that because they come up with articles like this. So if you can reduce your kid's screen time by 30 minutes a day, it will actually improve their mental health. That is so shocking to me. From the article, a team of psychologists and mental health specialists affiliated with several institutions in Denmark, working with a colleague from the UK, have found that reducing screen time for children just 3 hours per week can result in significant improvements in their mental health. In the paper published in the journal JAMA Network Open, the group describes how they conducted a randomized clinical trial involving 95 families and the impact of reducing screen time on electric devices. Prior research has suggested that children spending long stretches of time using electronic devices, whether to watch movies or video games, engage in social media, or play video games, tends to lead to mental health problems such as antisocial behavior and difficulties with handling emotions, which isn't a surprise. So they had 89 families involving 181 children from 10 cities in Denmark. The trials involved testing all the children in the study utilized the strengths and difficulties questionnaire to learn more about their social skills, general behavior, emotional stability, and overall mental health. And then next, they asked all children in 45 of the families to reduce their use of electronic devices to just 3 hours per week, not including school usage, which is cue for me. For 2 weeks, video monitors were installed in the homes of participants to ensure compliance. And afterwards, all the children were asked to fill the same questionnaire to see if there were any differences. And the research team found that what they describe as significant improvements in the child's social skills, including reductions in behavioral problems and in dealing with emotional issues. That is so shocking to me. I'm beside myself. I mean, have I been talking about this for 5 years, 3 years, 4 years? Yes. But I'm not a scientist. I'm not an MD. I'm a dumb idiot. I'm a bald dumb idiot with bad hair genetics. I mean, yeah, I mentioned this last episode. I'm morally uncorruptible. So, you know me. No, but this article is so interesting to me. This is going to be I think that there's a real chasm forming with people who are too lazy to parent their kids and who just give them iPads and people who aren't. I think that the barrier is going to become greater and greater, or the distance between the two is going to become greater and greater, because the people who are willing to let their kids have unfettered access to screens are in this category. My wife and I are in the category where we don't even want light up toys in our basement. We don't want our kids to interact with light up toys. So I think the chasm is becoming so great. It's not like, oh, well, they let their kids use their screens for 3 hours a week or 10 hours a week, and we only let them use it for 9 hours a week. No. I think it's becoming so dramatic, so great. It's going to be a real reckoning that we're going to have with the entire country and the entire world, basically, where we have to figure out what is actually best. I know what I'm doing is right because it just makes sense to me. There's nothing to be gained from the internet when you're that young. You can learn from books. You can learn. Albert Einstein didn't have the freaking internet. He didn't need the internet. He was able to learn through books and talking and testing and actually doing the things. I believe the internet can be a great resource sometimes, but it has to be managed diligently, and even adults struggle with it. This is obviously not surprising that it affects kids, but it affects adults too. Adults are way more antisocial than they ever have been. People struggle talking to each other. People struggle having communications with each other just because it's hard when you're spending all your time in front of a screen. I know even at work sometimes it's weird. You talk to these people on messages and then you see them in person for the first time in 6 months and you like don't even know how to talk to them. You don't know how to communicate with them because you've only interacted with them as sort of an icon, this picture, or in some cases just like a J and an M. Do their first name, last name, those initials. That's the only way you've interacted with them. And you see them in person for the first time and you go, yeah, I mean, we've like made jokes together, but I don't even know how to do that with you because I'm so used to interacting with you only exclusively through messages. So it's quite the interesting shift. The more studies that come out like this, obviously, it's not surprising. No big surprise here. Don't give your kid an iPad. Don't give your kid a phone. This is not a surprise, but this is something that we all need to be. This is the Dear Young Men podcast, so I'm assuming that the people watching are my age or younger. So as you guys have kids, don't give your kids access to screens. Your wife, if she is pro screens, you need to have a real conversation with her, show her studies like this, show her articles. If your girlfriend is pro screens, dump her and find somebody else. No, you can work with her, but it's just, you know what I mean? Like, just send her a text and say, we're done, and then find somebody else. So anyways, I truly believe that this is one of those things that over the next 5, 10, 15 years, there's going to be this huge divide between people and how they allow their kids to interact. And it's going to be strange. It's going to be a very odd thing because these kids that don't know how to talk to each other, who are iPad kids know how to talk to each other. Basically, they just like line up their brainwaves and they just sort of speak to each other like that, like whales almost. Like they just make they make those kind of noises and they can communicate. But kids that are homeschooled or that don't have access to these screens and iPads, they're going to really struggle having communication. It's something that I'm worried about. They're not going to be able to communicate with their friends and their peers. But I'm hoping and I believe that we know enough people who our kids can interact with that don't have access to screens, so that way they can have a group of people that they can interact with comfortably because they haven't been dumbed down and ADHD'd up the wazoo by these screens. This is also obviously for kids, but adults too. Get off your phone. I promise you, life is better outside of the screen. It is better. Other than this podcast, just listen to it while you go out for a walk or something. There's nothing I like more than going on a walk with my family, go on the swing sets, going to play with them. It's remarkable the life that's out there that you could live, but you're stuck at home playing on your screens all the time.